Well, hello, and welcome to another FAQ Monday. I am your host, Fluff, and if you have a question, feel free to leave them on down below or go on over to my Ask FM account thing, and we'll get you squared away. I don't know why I pointed over there. It's not right there. It's like, First question! What is some of the best signature gear of all time? Best signature gear. I mean, right off the top of my head, a Gibson Les Paul. That's a signature model from Les Paul when he had a relationship with Gibson back in the 50s. I would say the Gibson Les Paul is probably the most iconic signature anything in the music industry ever made. But other signature stuff, Slash's original 2203 signature amp that was modeled after a Silver Jubilee was really, really awesome. I also really enjoyed Zakk Wylde's signature Marshall amp. Boy, I'm just going down the Marshall amp line. Kerry King's signature JCM 800 was amazing. I'm a big fan of Bill Kelleher's Butterslacks amp. I think, boy, dude, there's literally so much signature gear. Oh man. I think the Zakk Wylde stuff is always really good. You know, his pedals, his guitars are always really nice. Man, there's so many technicalities. My brain is going towards the stuff that's like named after their founders and the guys that were building them in the early days, like Jackson. Those are Grover Jackson guitars. Or does Leo Fender count for Fender stuff? Because his name's on it. Isn't that a signature guitar, technically? I know what you mean by the essence of the question. That's kind of hard to nail down. But yeah, Gibson Les Paul, a lot of the Marshall signature amps are some of the greatest of all time. Bill Kelleher's Butterslacks is really good. The list could go on and on. What are some of your favorite signature stuff ever made? I want to know what your guys' opinions are about that. What are your thoughts on using something like an AX8 for live, going straight to front of house with no cabs on stage? You know, this is something I'm actually thinking about going down the road with Rest Repose and touring. And, can I get away with using just a Helix into the front of house? Because as much as I'd love an amplifier, a loud roaring amplifier, the shows that we play are often opening for other people. And when we backline, we have no room and we have no use for a cab because we have an in-ear system anyway. So by having the in-ear system, now my brain is thinking like, well, man, I could just bring a Helix and call it good. In parallel to that, I am legit worried that every time I go to grab that giant heavy rolling road case with my amp and stuff in it, that I'm gonna twist wrong and really badly hurt myself. That's a legit concern. I'm 38 years old and that kind of stuff weighs heavy on you. When I was young, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't care about any of that stuff. But now I'm like, okay, having a 6U rack that weighs 15 pounds versus a 120 pound road case with an amp and a bunch of effects in it, I'm gonna take the lighter of the two as I get older. So I don't know, I'm thinking about this very thing. But to answer your question, it's very commonplace to run a processor straight to front of house as long as the PA can support it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever sounds good is okay with me, as long as it sounds good. And the AX8 definitely does sound good. What are your thoughts concerning bands and artists buying in on tours or pay to play in general? Well, really, those are two different things. Traditionally, pay to play was a term used in the 1980s down in Los Angeles on the Sunset Strip, where a lot of clubs, there were so many bands that most of the clubs would simply charge the bands to play on stage, which, as silly as that sounds, was extremely common and is still extremely common today in a lot of areas. Now, pay to play in that scenario is a little different than buying onto a tour. So when you're buying onto a tour, you are essentially fronting the tour package, the cash that you would otherwise make if you drew the amount of people to generate that same amount of money in ticket sales, if that makes sense. So because those heads and those people are not going to come to be seeing you and to buy your merch and thusly see the other bands, you are just going to offset that by paying the money that they would be spending if they came to the tour. For example, a US tour, 6 weeks, I've heard of friends' bands paying $5,000 like on a big tour to be the opening act. I don't see anything wrong with that. Although I have known a few bands that have paid like $75,000 or $80,000 to jump on a tour that didn't do anything. I think that is a little ridiculous, but that's up to the band to decide what the monetary value of that is. But you know, paying a one-time fee of $5,000 to get in front of and play in front of thousands and thousands of people and potential new fans, that could be a make or break scenario for your particular band. So I don't see anything wrong with it. My band has never had to do that yet, at least. We have just been, you know, doing it the old school way of just playing shows and promoting ourselves online. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with buying onto a tour. I do not agree with the pay to play for a particular one-off show. When a guitar comes in the mail from Sweetwater, do you wait 24 hours to open the box? In fact, I generally do wait to open the guitar. What the question is referring to is sometimes with certain finishes on some guitars, you will have an orange peeling effect if it, say, comes from a very cold climate and you bring it into your nice warm house and you open it up, that warm air hitting the guitar will, in some cases, temporarily make the paint kind of go, ah, and it'll shock the paint, is what's happening. I generally do leave my guitars and the instruments in the box in my house for at least 24 hours, most of the time 48 hours, just to let them slowly acclimate to the, you know, the temperature inside the house if I know it came from a cold place. This is only generally followed, for me personally, during the winter time. During the summer where it's hot everywhere, no, I don't care about that. But in the winter time, yes, absolutely, that's a thing. Like I've heard of PRS guitars like having a little bit of orange peel when some cold air hits them when they're like a brand new guitar, and that's because it's a brand new guitar and it's probably not cured all the way yet. There's lots of debate on this subject and I'm not going to go into it, but yes, I generally do wait 24 to 48 hours before opening the box for a new guitar. Thoughts on solar guitars? I love solar guitars. Here's what I think about solar guitars. And Ola has done a great job with the brand, but I think they are filling a niche market, which is obviously they are instruments for metal, right? They are not jazz fusion guitars or something. They are clearly for metal players, and they also look classy. They don't look all weird and, you know, they're not ugly guitars. They're classy looking guitars. They look like they will kill your entire family and then ask you if you want to go have a beer. That's what the guitars make me think. As weird as that sounds, that's what the guitars make me think. And I think that was the intent. And knowing the intent, I have to get behind that. And they're also quality instruments. I picked up strummed a few chords at NAMM, this past NAMM in January. They felt great to me. They also sound really good as well. So yeah, solar guitars, yeah, 5 out of 5 beards. My suggestion to you this week is to check out the new Jordan Peele reboot of The Twilight Zone. The original Twilight Zone series is probably my favorite TV series ever. And I know that's a bold statement, but I love the concept and the original writing of Rod Serling. I am a huge Twilight Zone nut, and who better to bring the series back than Jordan Peele? If you haven't checked this out, it's on CBS. Definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. It's really, really awesome. All the pickable links down below in the description. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.